mystical experiences, visions of the beyond, the revealing of the true nature of reality. Such lofty images pervade the literature of the esoteric. People are attracted to these experiences and want to have them for themselves. Indeed, many cultures throughout history have developed practices that will increase your likelihood of having one of these experiences, but they happen to people all the time without any kind of specialized training. I don't often spend a lot of time in esoteric spaces online, but I see a common thread of people looking for these big life-changing experiences and then finding that the practices come up short. Or they do have an experience, but their life hasn't changed, or it's changed in a way that they didn't expect. Today, I want to talk about the dangers of chasing spiritual and mystical experiences and what you should do if you have one. My name is Frater Zigmund, and I'm a ceremonial and art magician, queer Hermetic mystic, and conceptual artist working in the medium of religion. This is the start of my new series called Practical Occultism, where I talk about the more mundane side of following an esoteric or occult path and try to bring things down to earth a little bit. I think this is an important topic for a lot of reasons, so let's get started. So before we get started on talking about the dangers of chasing mystical experiences, I want to be clear about what I'm talking about here. So normally when we experience the world, we receive input from our senses, sight, sound, taste, all that, feeling. But there's other senses too, like your sense of time, your sense of balance, the sense of where your body parts are in space. All of these things, there's a whole bunch of them. Check it out on Wikipedia. There's definitely more than 5 senses. But there are times when you receive information from a source other than your normal senses. And these are mystical experiences. This information comes from somewhere beyond our normal waking world. When you have a mystical experience, you may experience parts of it in a sensory way. But I wouldn't say you obtain the information through your normal senses, or else somebody else could see or hear what you are seeing or hearing. And that's usually not how it happens. I'm not saying it's all in your head, but it is only happening to you. The term unverified personal gnosis gets thrown around a lot today, and I think it's actually a very good way to describe what's going on. These events happen to people all the time, and they're very meaningful and very affirming and very life-changing, but they're usually not very helpful to anyone else, and that's perfectly fine. How important something is to you doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be important to somebody else. Let your experiences make you a better person, and then you can go out and make the world a better place. That's some real magic right there. Fantastic descriptions of mystical experiences abound in almost every culture. And people often report having life-changing experiences that make them a completely different person. And then there's those on the sidelines really wanting something like this to happen to them, but not really sure how to go about it, and not really realizing what it is that they're looking for. Many cultures have developed practices for receiving these visions of the divine, and such practices are readily available to the public today. You could go into your local bookstore and find a book on how to meditate, how to pray, and do all that kind of stuff, and you might have a mystical experience because of it. Yes, you can join a group, but a sincere seeker really only needs their relationship with the divine, and that doesn't involve anyone else. And here's the first danger of chasing mystical experiences. When you take in so much media about what these experiences are like, you end up constantly comparing your own experience to those. You keep comparing your experiences to what you read in a book or what you saw in a YouTube video, and then feeling that you're coming up short. Your spiritual practice is for you and you alone. And if you tie other people into it, you're going to have a hard time trusting yourself and your experiences. Some of my most profound mystical moments are when I'm doing the most mundane things. No visions of angels or booming voice of God or anything like that. And if I was waiting for something like that, I absolutely miss those moments of gnosis when the universe truly reveals itself to me. Expectations can blind you to what is truly possible. Aleister Crowley said you shouldn't lust for results, and he was absolutely right. An intense spiritual practice is there to help make you a better person so you can make the world a better place. Visions and magic powers are really just distractions to keep you from the work. They are side effects and not the intended effect. Keep that in mind as you practice. Keep that in mind as you move along this path. Another danger of mystical experiences is that afterwards you can be in a very vulnerable state. And there are very manipulative people out there who will try to take advantage of you. This happens all the time, where someone has a profound spiritual experience and has no way to really explain it. They start talking to people about it, and then these predators swoop in and they try to take somebody's experience and fit it into their model of what they think the world should be like. And usually these people have a bigger agenda behind what they're doing. The person who had the mystical experience is glad for the so-called help, but doesn't really realize what's going on. This so-called help is actually taking them away from the experience that they had. Take them away from the truth that was given to them and them alone. People in our culture are conditioned to believe that they can't be their own spiritual guides, that they can't possibly understand these things on their own, that they need someone else to guide them. Help is great, don't get me wrong, and there are some religious professionals out there really doing the Lord's work, but I'm giving you permission to trust yourself and that your relationship to the divine doesn't require a third-party mediator. I'm sure organized religion is great and all, but have you tried being your own priest? There's nothing stopping you but yourself. So what if you don't have all the answers? No one does, and finding them out is a big part of the journey. So please be careful who you share these big moments with. You don't want to end up in a bad situation where someone is trying to manipulate you under the guise of religion or spirituality. Another big pitfall of profound spiritual experiences is what happens to you afterwards. Coming back to your mundane life may suddenly become very difficult. You've been changed, but the world seems the same. A good friend of mine has a quote he likes to say: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You can have all these crazy mystical experiences, but you still need to pay your bills. You still need to put food on the table. You still need to keep that roof over your head. You still need to take care of yourself, your family, your life. None of that changes just because you had a mystical experience. And all of that stuff might suddenly become very empty to you. You might recognize that the dominant strands of your culture are completely arbitrary and meaningless, and there's nothing you can do about it. You still have to operate and live in a society where everybody is operating under these assumptions that they just think are inherently true. You still need to find a way to be a person operating in society when your experience has completely changed you in a new way. This is why I always encourage anybody following a mystical path to get a therapist. Actually, everybody should probably get a therapist, especially people who think they don't need one. They need them the most. But if you're going to be doing intense spiritual work that you're looking to change yourself, you're looking to transform yourself, get a therapist. I cannot say it enough. A therapist helps provide an objective perspective on your situation. They can help you identify areas of your life that you need to work on. And when inevitably you start facing your trauma as a result of doing this work, you're going to definitely want a therapist there to help you deal with that, because that is very difficult and potentially dangerous to your health, to your family, your relationships, your way of being. So I highly recommend get a therapist. I really wouldn't recommend attempting any kind of self-initiation practice without the help of a therapist and securing one first. It's going to be much easier to do when you're together versus when you're having a mental health crisis. Accessibility to mental health services is always an issue, but if you really want to be a self-initiate, you will find a way. Trust me, you will. The resources are out there. You just have to look. You just have to advocate for yourself. You'll find a way. Think of it as part of your training to become an initiate. And make sure you find a licensed therapist with appropriate credentials for your area. There's a lot of people who claim to be therapists and counselors, but they don't really have the right training, or they have another agenda, usually some kind of religious or possibly a culty kind of thing. So be really careful. A good therapist won't really try to push any kind of religion on you or won't try to make you believe a certain thing. A good therapist will give you the space to find the answers that are right for you. So please keep that in mind. But it does take a lot of work. It's not easy. It's very hard. You're going to have to face the most difficult parts of yourself. But hey, you're trying to chase these big mystical experiences and these big revelations of the truth. So hey, you got to start with yourself. Mystical experiences are incredibly profound and life-changing spiritual moments when a person receives information through some means other than their normal sensory input. Descriptions of these events fill the religious and esoteric literature, and this causes many people to go searching for their own experiences. However, trying to compare your own experience to something you read in a book can genuinely keep you from having your own mystical experiences. And if you do have one, it often makes you feel vulnerable and unmoored. It makes you an easy target for those who would try to take advantage of people in your state. It can be hard to navigate life when you are changed, but you've returned to a world that is completely the same. Therapy is an invaluable and essential way to help the would-be mystic navigate the dangers of mental health struggles that occur as a result of intense spiritual practice. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like or a comment. Share if you think people need to hear this. Subscribe if you want to hear more. I release a video every week. This is just the first in the series of Practical Occultism. I've got more coming up about art magic, ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn stuff, mysticism. Just keep waiting. I've got a lot of ideas. I'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about. I wish you all many blessings, and may the light shine brightly from within you. Take care.